Hey everyone! Are you falling into the trap of building massive complex Figma components before you even know if you need them? Stop the file bloat. Stick around as we dive into a strategic playbook for mastering Figma components using Booleans and instant swaps. Let's go!
Look at this quote right here. Always build the product first, and then look to build both the components and, actually, your design system afterward. I want to start with this because it is so incredibly easy to fall into the trap of building these super complex components with, dozens of variants before you even know if you actually need them. And what happens? You end up with this absolute monster of a component where you're only using maybe 5% of its features. It's a huge waste of time. Components and systems need to be extracted from existing products, not the other way around.
So that begs the vital question. What should we actually build first? Because let's be real, when you stare at a fresh interface, almost everything looks like a candidate for a component, right? You see event cards, you see buttons, title tags, literally everything could theoretically be a component.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll cover avoiding the component trap, selecting for business value, Figma component properties explained, and then we'll do a step-by-step on both Boolean properties and instant swaps.
All right, Section 1, avoid the component trap, starting with a component inventory.
Let's look at how an inventory actually works using a sample events page. If we take our time and really break it down, we can pull out distinct items. Things like the page title, the event date picker, the user location, and event type chips. And hey, quick side note, if you haven't heard the term chips before, it's just a term popularized by Google's material design. Actually, that brings up a great pro tip from our sources. Naming conventions can be weirdly difficult. The best advice? Just choose names that you, your company, and your colleagues immediately understand. Don't overcomplicate the jargon. Anyway, as we continue down the page, we also find badges and location tags. Now, even though these might sit inside a much larger card component, they are absolutely components in their own right.
Moving into Section 2, selecting for business value, which is all about the prioritization framework.
Now that we have this giant inventory list, how do we prioritize it? Well, our sources give us 3 fantastic criteria to follow. First up, is it actually valuable to the business? Think about the map inside Google Maps. That is literally their core product, so it's the natural target for their very first component. Second, is it used often? And by that, I mean frequently used by both your end users and the designers actually pulling from your system. And third, does it need frequent updates? Say you have an event card layout that you know is going to change constantly. Making that a component right off the bat saves you the absolute headache of updating individual design files over and over again.
Now, for those of you navigating more complex company setups, you absolutely have to keep this golden rule in mind. The rule of 3. You only add a component to a design system when 3 or more teams, projects, or products need it or are already using it. It's just a brilliant, straightforward way to prevent premature component creation and keep your whole design system lean and focused on what matters.
Okay, Section 3. Figma component properties explained. This is the big paradigm shift.
Listen, there is a real urgency here. Figma is officially deprecating simplified instances, and that happens on March 23, 2026. So moving forward, all component properties will be visible by default right there in the right panel. This is huge because it means anyone using your component gets a single, consolidated set of controls. They can understand at a glance exactly what is changeable, which drastically reduces the need to constantly click, deep select, and manually override individual layers.
All right, Section 4, step-by-step Boolean properties. Let's master toggling layer visibility.
So, what is a Boolean property? It just sets true or false values, allowing you to toggle an attribute on or off. Currently, this is strictly for controlling layer visibility. Think about a standard button. Instead of creating endless separate variants for a button with an icon and a button without an icon, you just supply a Boolean property to the icon's visibility. It's incredibly elegant and saves so much file space.
But hold on a second. We really need to flag this warning from our sources. Before you go wild applying Boolean properties everywhere to consolidate your components, you have to consider your prototyping needs. If you take a with icon and without icon button and consolidate them into one single component using a Boolean, you can no longer set up an interactive prototype specifically between those two states. Prototype interactions fundamentally require 2 individual objects. So definitely keep that in mind when you're planning out your interactive components.
So how do we build it? First, select your main component or component set. Next, head over to the right sidebar, click into the Properties section, and choose Boolean right from the dropdown.
From there, just give your property a really clear name and set its default value to either true or false. Finally, hit Create Property. Boom, you've now established the rule on the main component.
Now for the fun part, applying that rule to the actual design layer. Grab the specific nested layer, like the actual icon inside your button. Then find the Appearance section over in that right sidebar. Click the little Apply Variable/Property icon and choose the Boolean property you just made. When you do this right, you'll see a very satisfying little purple pill with the property name pop up in the sidebar. That purple pill is your confirmation that it's working.
Moving right along to Section 5, Step-by-Step Instance Swaps for Controlling Nested Instances.
An instant swap property is basically exactly what it sounds like. It indicates which nested instances inside a main component can actually be swapped out by the user. By bringing this specific control to the top level of the right panel, it takes all the guesswork out of the equation for anyone utilizing your design system.
The setup here is super similar to Booleans. With your main component selected, go back to that Properties section, but this time you're going to select Instant Swap. Give the property a name and use the drop-down to select a default instance from your file or library. Once that looks good, click Create Property.
Now here is the absolute best part of this feature, preferred values. When you create an instant swap, you can literally curate a specific set of components for your designers to choose from. Let's say you have an icon button, and your company's entire library has well over 100 icons in it. But for this specific button context, only 8 of those icons are actually appropriate. By setting those 8 as preferred values, whenever a designer goes to swap that icon, they instantly see a curated, pre-approved list. It is a total game changer for guiding the proper application of your design system.
To bring it all together and apply it, simply select the nested instance inside your main component. Look up near the top of the right sidebar and click the Apply Instance Swap Property icon. Take your time, choose the property you just created from the list, and once again, keep an eye out for that distinct purple pill to confirm it was successful.
And hey, before we wrap up, I just want to reassure you that nothing we just did is permanent. You can switch, customize, or completely detach these component properties at any time using the right sidebar controls. If you detach a property from a layer by clicking the Unlink icon, it just removes it from that specific layer. It does not delete all the underlying property work you did on the main component. So you have total flexibility to experiment.
So, there it is. We've covered the entire journey today. You now have the complete playbook to identify the right components based on actual business value, plus the technical skills to build them perfectly using Figma's Boolean and instant swap properties. Strategy to execution. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Which valuable component will you extract from your product today? Open up Figma, get started on that inventory, and I'll catch you next time.